Hello and welcome into today's edition of the Arizona State Sun Devils Insider Podcast. My name is Kevin Hicks and I'm your lead beat writer for Arizona State Sun Devils on SI, and I'm so grateful to be joining you today on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon ahead of Arizona State's massive Week 2 road game against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. So for some background to this game that some might not be aware of, Mississippi State came into the SEC season projected to finish last in the conference. So there's not too many expectations in year two of Jeff Lebby in what is a rebuild following the unfortunate and tragic, untimely Mike Leach passing of Mike Leach. Uh, Very unfortunate for that Mississippi State program and college football as a whole, obviously. But now Jeff Lebby is the leader of that program. He's done some pretty solid things. Last year, obviously, they went 3-9, 2-10. They went 3-9 or 2-10. Hit the transfer portal pretty hard. Returned Blake Shapen for a second season after he got knocked out of the 2024 season, I believe, about halfway through. Their offensive system is very, very unique. Veer and shoot offense. So very horizontal based spread offense, and obviously they run the tempo quite a bit. They went 2-10 last year, so they could see some marked improvement this year. I'm not going to say that they will for sure because they have a very tough schedule, but we'll see what progression they show over the course of the season. Right now, Arizona State is a 7-point favorite. It's going to be a tough environment no matter what way you spin it, and I'm going to touch upon that briefly in what Coach Brian Ward had to say. And yeah, let's get into today's episode. So I wanted to start off today's episode by talking about a couple of things that I saw from practice. So scouts from the Dallas Cowboys and the New England Patriots were in attendance at Arizona State practice today. Obviously, neither of them are in the market for a quarterback, so Sam Leavitt, once again, does not have any scouts' eyes on him, at least at Arizona State practice. It could be looking at Jordan Tyson, most certainly, CJ Fight, Ben Coleman, the typical suspects that could very well end up being fixtures on Sunday as soon as next season. But that's all I have to say on that front. As for the practice, Kamari Anderson, Montana Warren, and Jaron Hamilton were the three Sun Devils that stood out for me. And we will touch upon Hamilton very, very shortly when discussing the question that I asked Marcus Arroyo in the post-practice media availability. So let's get started with that. So with Marcus Arroyo, Jaron Hamilton played one snap out of 64 in Arizona State's season opening victory over Northern Arizona on Saturday. When Derek Eusebio, 34 snaps. Jalen Moss, even with an injury, 26 snaps. Malik McClain played every single snap. Jaron Hamilton saw the field for one snap. I asked Coach Arroyo if the plan was to get Jaron more action this week, and he virtually confirmed that there will be more Jaron Hamilton on the field this week. He talked about a lot of the same things that Coach Dillingham did in terms of why he didn't play. A lot of it came down to the flow of the game and substitution patterns being knocked out of sorts with the Jalen Moss injury. But Jaron Hamilton has been a consistent fixture in practice. Virtually every single practice he's been impressive. And Wednesday's practice was no different. Impressive route running, consistent hands, over-the-top speed. He has a little bit of everything that he can show on a football field, and I'm confident that he will have a good game on Saturday. Now let's talk about what Coach Arroyo had to say about the running back room. So he pretty much echoed the sentiments that Coach Dillingham and Kyson Brown have previously stated earlier in the week, it feels like they're in a good spot. They complement each other very well, Kyson Brown and Raleek Brown. And you can't forget about Kanye Udo either in that fold. I feel very, very confident about the fact that they will be able to at least come up with a facsimile of what Cam Scatterboo did last season as a collective group. Now let's get to what Brian Ward had to say. So Ward largely commended the defense for their performance on Saturday. He did bring up that one of the big plays that Northern Arizona gained was due to a simple blown coverage, and that communication is key to each and every week of the season, but particularly in games like that you can't let up in. He did give them a lot of credit for holding up in high leverage situations, gave praise to Jordan Crook, gave praise to the defensive line. He liked what he saw in terms of the looks the defensive line gave, even though Northern Arizona did not really give the pass rush much opportunity to do so. He did bring up that they were throwing a lot of screen passes on 3rd and long. They were running the ball. They were really mucking things up and not giving ASU's extremely athlete-oriented defensive line opportunity to show out in critical downs. I wanted to talk about what he had to say about Blake Shapen, the Mississippi State quarterback. I asked him a question about Shapen because Coach Dillingham has been very, very outspoken in his admiration of the Mississippi State quarterback. And he's basically said that he's experienced, he's poised, he's good under pressure, he's not afraid to take a hit, he trusts his receivers, he doesn't put the ball in danger's way too often, and at the end of the day, he's a really talented quarterback, and he's able to push the ball downfield. That's really all Ward had to say about Shapen, and I agree with him and Coach Dillingham both. It's very, very difficult to throw a quarterback of Shapen's caliber out of rhythm in a 1-game basis, let alone a 2-game basis. I don't know if I'm going to envision a world where Shapen has another off game against the Sun Devils this coming Saturday. I do believe the Sun Devils will win the game, but I think it might be more challenging than some are letting on, just because of the environment that they're going to play in, just because of the improvement that the Bulldogs have or should display on a year-to-year basis. And it's just going to be a very, very physical game. The Bulldogs are going to play physical defense. They're going to run on offense. They're going to push the tempo. They're going to use the humidity to their advantage, which is what the Sun Devils were preparing for a couple of weeks ago. But you can only simulate the cowbell noise. You can only simulate the humidity so much before you get to the real thing, and you actually have to experience it there in live time. And we shall see what happens. The game is Saturday at 4:30 Arizona time. It will be broadcast on ESPN2. And the number 12 ranked Sun Devils are looking to capitalize off of a fairly strong win this past Saturday and secure their first ever road win against an SEC opponent. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Please follow me on X/Twitter at KX_21 at the conclusion of this video. Your support is what drives me to do this each and every single day. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will see you tomorrow.